Yo, what up guys, and welcome to another Baldur's Gate 3 video. For today's video, I was playing with the idea of like a high mobility Spirit Guardians build. So if that sounds like something you want to hear about, grab a coffee, settle in, and welcome to the Nightcrawler build. Okay guys, with most of my builds, you can do this with pretty much any race. You don't have to have a specific race. Okay, I know I just said class and race don't matter, but I really think that running this build with Asterion is actually a really cool option for the Nightcrawler style theme. And that way you can teleport to enemies and then use your bonus action bite on enemies. I think that just really fits well. So yeah, I screwed up. Back to the video. But for level 1, what we want to go ahead and do is start with Bard. Choose whatever cantrips you enjoy. I really like Friends for the RP aspect, and Minor Illusion for the ability to kind of group up enemies. And then pick some of your favorite spells. I recommend Longstrider or Healing Word for picking someone up that's downed. I also really like Dissonant Whispers, especially early on. It's really nice to frighten someone. And then I have Speak with Animals here, just so I can talk with animals with this character. For your stats, I debated back and forth how I wanted to do it, but I think something like this is probably the best bet. With Dexterity, you can use weapon attacks with finesse weapons. You're going to be using your bow a lot. We have a decent amount of Constitution here, and a pretty high Charisma. And we have that odd Constitution because we're going to improve it later on with Resiliency to give us proficiency in our Constitution saving throws. And then being a Bard, you get to choose pretty much any skills you want, which is amazing. So just grab the skills that you want, and we'll start the level up process. So going down, we're going to level up through Bard. For our first spell, again, choose whatever you'd like. We'll go ahead and grab, I don't know, Heroism. And then we get to level 3, which is where we will get our subclass. So for this build, the subclass is actually pretty important. It's what gives you all the mobility. So we're going to scroll up. We're going to change that to College of Swords. And College of Swords is what's going to give you an extra fighting style, all these flourishes. We also get a level 2 spell. I am a big fan of Hold Person. I think it's really powerful. But early on, Cloud of Daggers could be a really strong spell for you guys. You can position this in a way that the enemies have to go through it, or position it right in front of a ladder or something. That way every enemy that's coming up the ladder to try to get to your casters has to go through the Cloud of Daggers. You can also throw people back into it. It's a really cool ability. For your fighting style, you can choose whichever one you prefer more. I was doing dueling because I was going to wear a shield. But if you prefer to dual wield, then go ahead and rock dual 2-weapon fighting. And we get to level 4 where we're going to get an additional cantrip. And apparently I missed Vicious Mockery, and you got to have that as a bard. So you get one more spell. I'm going to choose Invisibility here. Actually, I did say Hold Person, so let's grab that and our first feat. For our first feat, I believe we're going to just go ahead and grab Resilient Constitution. That's going to bump our Constitution up to 16 and give us proficiency in those saving throws. So then we'll be at a +7 for saving throws once we finish the leveling process. At level 5, you're going to get Font of Inspiration. So now your Bardic Inspirations start coming back on a short or a long rest, which means short rests are even more important for you. And we do have Song of Rest that we got at level 2. So bards basically give their party an additional short rest. We also have access to our level 3 spells. You know I'm a huge fan of Fear, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that one. And then at level 6, we are going to finally get our extra attack. We also get Counter Charm. So Counter Charm is something you can throw out to give people advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. So certain fights it's really useful in. We also get a second, third level spell. I'm a big fan of Plant Growth because it doesn't take concentration, and it can be quite annoying for the enemies. It slows them down a lot. Going into our 7th level of Bard, we're going to pick up a 4th level spell. Now with the idea of this build being like a Nightcrawler build where you're teleporting around, I found it hard to not want to take Dimension Door, so I'll probably grab Dimension Door and Freedom of Movement here. That way I can run through my Plant Growth without having any issues. We can just precast Freedom of Movement on myself, and then bam, I'm just running through everything. So we'll go ahead and grab that Freedom of Movement like I said. Now, Greater Invisibility is another really cool thing, so now you can be invisible while you're doing this, which is pretty sick. but you won't be able to have Spirit Guardian and Greater Invisibility at the same time because they're both concentration. At this point in time, we do get an additional feat. I debated on throwing some stats into some different areas. I think just to make sure that I don't lose concentration, because it's very frustrating, I'm going to go ahead and take Warcaster. So Warcaster will give you advantage on all saving throws to maintain concentration. Now, alternatively, if you're late in the game, you can just grab the 23 Constitution necklace, which is really nice. So then you don't have to worry about this. So if you have that necklace, you don't need Warcaster as well. Feel free to grab something like an ability score improvement in Charisma, or you could grab, where is it at? Mobile to make yourself even faster. And then after making a melee attack, you don't provoke opportunity attacks. That's pretty powerful as well. So we're going to actually go ahead and grab mobile here. I think this one's pretty entertaining for the purpose. And then our last one will, so we could either grab this or we could grab Warcaster, because we won't actually get a final feat unless we go all the way through Bard. Okay, we get Bard level 9. That's where we get our 5th level spells. I'm a very big fan of Hold Monster, and it's really strong in this build because we can stack up our spell save DC really quickly. Also, Mass Cure Wounds is really good. We'll just go ahead and grab Hold Monster for now. And then we hit level 10 where we kind of get our Bardic Secrets. That's where the build really comes online at level 10. So it is giving us another skill. You gotta love Bard. It just gives you so many different options here. Get in another cantrip. I'll grab Mage Hands, and then we get an additional 5th level spell. Like I said, I'm gonna grab Cure Wounds. And now we get our Magical Secrets. That's where we really get online here. So we're already going to be concentrating on Spirit Guardians. That's what the build's around. So we won't want to concentrate on anything else. So I kind of stayed away from a lot of the other concentration spells. The spell that I really like here is Misty Step. But you could Dimension Door, and there's a couple other ways to get Misty Step if you'd like. I recommend Counterspell as well. Counterspell being able to kind of control the battlefield and stop those big spell casts from your enemies. Banishing Smite's a really cool ability as well. And the Bard with Magical Secrets is pretty much the only way you can take this spell. So you do an extra force damage with your attack, and then you could possibly banish them depending on how low their HP is, which is really cool. Obviously, Conjure Elemental is another great one because it doesn't require concentration. You get just an elemental to help fight with you. I'm trying to look through and see if there's any other ones that I would recommend. Fire Shield's not bad. If you don't take mobile and you plan on maybe getting attacked a few times, Fire Shield could be a really cool option because you could cast Fire Shield right before the fight starts, cast Spirit Guardians and Fire Shield, and now you're running around dealing damage to everyone, and then when you walk by and they attack you, you're doing damage again with Fire Shield, which is pretty cool. I am going to commit onto Misty Step, I believe. Sanctuary is also really, I really want to take Sanctuary as well because it's super strong, but we have a way to get it if we'd like to later. So we're going to go ahead and select those 2 spells, continue on to Bard level 11. So this is where we start getting options. So you can either continue on. If you do Bard level 11, you're going to get a 6th level spell, which will either be Eye Bite or Irresistible Dance. I'm a very big fan of Eye Bite. Or we could start multi-classing here. So if you feel comfortable multi-classing, this is where you could go ahead and grab some other stuff. I really like Cleric and going either Life, War, or Tempest. I actually think I would recommend War. And the reason being is if we have 2 levels, we could put both of them into War. Then we can get a +10 to hit on one of our attacks. So whenever we really need to make that mobile attack succeed, we can get +10 to it. That way we guarantee it, and then we can teleport to there. Like maybe if we're in a sticky situation, we can make sure we mobile flourish, teleport to that person. Because if you miss that attack, you're going to be pushed further back than you want to be. Other options you could do is Fighter. If you wanted to pick up 2 levels in Fighter for Action Surge, which will make your opener even stronger. And Action Surge comes back on a short rest, And because you're a bard, you're going to get an additional short rest per day. I really like that option. Monk to me is another cool one. If you feel like instead of wearing heavy armor with Cleric or Fighter, you're like, cool, actually, you know what? I want to go pretty much no armor. So you go into Monk here, and you can get the Monk defense abilities. You can also get, I can't show it to you at the moment, but you can get the Monk bonuses to level 2, which will give you a little bit extra movement. And then on top of that, you're able to use disengage, or not disengage, you can dash as a bonus action, which is really cool. And for that same stat, you can also do that with Rogue as well, which is pretty neat. So then you're moving even further, so you're being able to dash as a bonus action. I really like that option. And then I don't know if any of these others really add a lot of value. No, I really recommend going either Cleric, Fighter, Monk, Rogue, or just continue through Bard. And it really depends. Do you want to throw heavy armor on, then go Cleric or Fighter? If you want to, if you're maintaining your medium and light armor, stick with Rogue. And then if you want to kind of do that, what do you call it? Being able to hit things and kind of move in and out and continue to increase your AC as you're moving around, then go with Monk. But I really like Cleric or Fighter for the defensive capabilities. I'm going to go ahead and select Cleric here. For my domain, I am going to select War, so I get an additional attack. And then you get cantrips as well. I'm just such a huge fan of Guidance. We're going to grab Guidance, Resistance, and Thaumaturgy. And then pick a deity that you think's cool. We'll just grab Talos. And we're only going to get to prepare one spell because our wisdom is not the greatest. I am going to prepare Sanctuary because I think it's super powerful. So Sanctuary, you can just use it at the end of the turn as a bonus action to protect yourself. And what's nice about grabbing a couple levels in Cleric is now that we're 11 levels, we'll basically have access to a 6th level spell slot, which is really cool. That's the downside of going Fighter, is you lose the spell slots. And then for our final level, I think there's no reason not to just go ahead and grab the last level in Cleric to get the Channel Divinity and the Guided Strength. Alright, so that is the whole build, and as you see, we do have 6th level spell slots. We have our extra War Priest attacks, so we're making 2 attacks a turn. We've got three times we're allowed to attack with our bonus action. We do have our Channel Divinity. Okay, hopping into my gear. So we went ahead and went the Bard Cleric route here. And the reason we're taking that Cleric route is for the increased chance to hit, to make sure we can hit. And then on top of that, we get access to heavy armor and shields. I'm still going to be wearing medium armor here. And there's quite a few different ways you can do this build. But right now we're going to go ahead and kind of go through exactly how I have it set up. So for your helmet, I really recommend the Helmet of Arcane Acuity. Pretty much any build or any version of this build you want to do, this is really nice. So whenever you attack, you gain Arcane Acuity for 2 turns. So every stack of Arcane Acuity, you get +1 to attack rolls and spell save DC. So it's going to make your Spirit Guardians do more consistent damage. Once you attacked a full turn, you can sometimes get away with dealing 3 or 4 attacks in 1 turn. Now your spell save DC goes up to +8, so it pretty much guarantees that they're going to fail. For my cloak, I have the Nymph Cloak, and there's 2 reasons behind this. One is the ring that I don't have on, and I'll discuss it and show it to you later. But you get this spell that's Dominate Person once per day. And because you're stacking your spell save DC so high, it pretty much guarantees that you can cast Dominate Person. And they can't save from it when you cast it, which is really nice. You could wear some other cloaks. One of the other ones that I recommend is the Cloak of Displacement. If you don't have this one, Cloak of Displacement just gives them disadvantage on your attacks, or on their attacks against you. So your armor class is pretty high. I mean, it's 22 with this build. If you put on the Helldusk armor, it could go up to 23, and you could get it even higher with some other items like Ring of Protection, Cloak of Protection. But being able to have a high AC and them rolling disadvantage on their attacks makes it to you where you don't get hit very often. For my chest piece, I have the Armor of Agility, which gives me +2 to all of my saving throws. So now if we come down, we look at my Strength saving throw, or Con saving throw, excuse me. I'm +9 to saving throws. and I'm rolling with advantage, so the odds of me losing Spirit Guardians is really low. So if I'm using a 6th level Spirit Guardians, I really want to be able to maintain concentration on that. So to me, that's very valuable. Like I said, alternatively, you could use the Helldusk armor. Anybody can wear this. It's very good. I mean, obviously, it's a legendary item. And if you could, I mean, if you're wearing heavy armor, or if you're proficient in heavy armor like we are because of Cleric, you can wear pretty much any type of heavy armor here, and you're going to get a very good AC. You should get around 1920 from this, and then you're going to get bonuses from your shield. So for my gloves, there's quite a few different ways to do this. I went with the Hill Giant Strength gloves, but you don't get these till very late in the game. So before you get the Hill Giant gloves, you can wear any other type of glove. And I honestly recommend using something like the Luminous gloves here. You can wear these while using Spirit Guardians instead of Necrotic. You can use the normal Radiant damage, and then you're going to be putting Radiant Orb on your enemies, which is really nice. And you can do the whole Radiant package. Like early on, you could wear the Luminous armor as opposed to this stuff. And through the early games, you can still do quite a bit of stuff, or quite a bit of damage, while reducing their chance to hit, which is really cool. But before you have the Hill Giant Strength, just make sure, because you're going to be attacking with Dexterity. So before you get these things, make sure that your weapon is going to be a finesse weapon. So you're going to want something like a dagger or a short sword, just anything that has that finesse tag to it. A rapier is probably going to be really what you're looking for. For boots, with us moving around like crazy, being the Nightcrawler, I really wanted the Disintegrating Nightwalkers. You know, you can't be ensnared or slip on ice. And then on top of that, we have an additional free Misty Step here. So once per day, free Misty Step. And continuing on with that style, I actually have been just wearing the Amulet of Misty Step. So now my gear gives me 2 different Misty Steps, which is really cool. You could also do the Dimension Door boots as well, but I do like this being a bonus action. Now, alternative necks that you could wear, there's quite a few. So you can get your Spellcrux Amulet to get an additional 6th level spell, or whatever your highest spell slot is. Also, we talked about having the Amulet of Greater Health, which gives you advantage and a plus 20 or a 23 Constitution. So as you see, let's go down to our saves again. If we have the Amulet on, we are looking at plus 12 to Constitution saving throws, which means we're pretty much never going to fail it. Another neck that you can wear is the Amulet of the Devout. If I throw this on, you can see that my spell save DC starts at 18. And then once I make an attack, it'll go to 20, second attack 22, and so forth. So having that on is really nice to keep your spell save DC. And then on top of that, you get an additional Channeled Divinity. It says once per long rest, but it gives you it every short rest. So you'll then get 2 Channeled Divinities, which means 2 times per day you can add plus 10 to your attack. For my rings, I've been using the Killer's Sweetheart because I thought it was pretty neat. Whenever you kill a creature, your next attack roll will be a critical hit. What I've actually been using this for is whenever I roll a natural 1 on attack. So when you roll a nat 1, you critically fail, right? So you can't hit anyone. But if you have this up, you can choose to use it at that point in time. So you just wait for it to pop up and say nat 1. When you use Killer's Sweetheart, it becomes a nat 20 instead, which means it actually hit. Not only did it hit, it's a free crit, right? So it turns a critical miss into a critical hit, which is a cool little mechanic with it. I also really recommend I'm trying to remember the name right now, but there's a ring that gives you, once you attack, I've showed it in a couple of other of my builds, you basically can use a bonus action to cast either an illusion or enchantment spell. I'll have it popped up for you guys so you can see it. So this ring you can get right as you get to Act 3. It's in the circus. I'm not going to give away, but I'll give you a hint. It is near this thing. So as soon as you get there, you can go ahead and grab that ring, and that allows you to, as long as you make an attack, you can use a bonus action to use an enchantment or an illusion spell. And for example, Fear is a fantastic enchantment or illusion spell. Now you don't want to use this while you have Spirit Guardians, but what you can use while you have it is Dissonant Whispers. So you can go ahead and make an attack, use your bonus action to do Dissonant Whispers to keep an enemy stuck right there. And because your spell save DC is so high, it normally keeps them or rooted in place, which is really nice. For my weapons, we obviously have some very good options equipped right now. Pretty much any weapon that is going to be a strength-based weapon. As soon as you get the Hill Giant strength, it's literally anything you want to use. One of the real reasons I'm using this is for the cool little Zephyr flash. I think it's neat to be able to just kind of rush towards an enemy, and adds the bleeding and everything. It's not amazing, but it's a cool little ability to add to it. And I believe it also gives us, yeah. So it also gives us, nope, that's not from that. So it also gives us this one, which is pretty cool. Nice little ability. It's nothing insane, but it's just some fun thing to add to it, and it allows me to kind of run around. And I like the idea of running around with a trident. Looks cool. And then finally for my bow, I've got on the legendary one. You do get Celestial Haste if you want it, if you don't feel like casting Spirit Guardians for a turn. But also the Dead Shot is a really good option as well. And the reason why I like the Dead Shot is it's got that keen attack, so it's going to be +8 to hit. So you see this is +14 to hit. If I put the Dead Shot on, it says +13. I don't know if that's correct. Let me double check. See if it's actually calculating correctly. So we get 3 here. 4 for our proficiency is 7. 8, 9. Yep, it's calculating correct. So it's +13. So it's a very good option as well. It's not quite as good as the legendary, but it is solid nonetheless. So if you want to go ahead and do the monk version of this build, I recommend just throwing on something like this for your chest piece. And what you're going to want to do with your stats is maybe you take a few points out of dexterity and put on either the dexterity gloves, or maybe take down your constitution slightly. If you put on the necklace of greater health, you could take down your constitution entirely, and then you could put those points into wisdom to help increase your armor class. So you put dexterity and wisdom instead, and that way you've got a pretty good armor class at that point in time. And then you can do quite a bit of damage with the punches when somebody hits you. And then you want to add probably these boots. So it just adds your wisdom modifier to your unarmed damage. It's nothing insane, but it's a nice little combo to go with it. And then you'll be able to run around a bunch more. You won't be able to wear a shield at that point in time. So maybe go dual wield with that, or choose something else that helps increase your armor class. You can, even if you have high strength, you could dual wield some of the defender flails, which increases your armor class for +1 for each one, or something like cold snap in your offhand gives you a +1 to your armor class. And then if you take the dual wielder feat, you also get a +1 armor class. So you can basically make up the difference for the shield very easily. Other shield options, obviously the legendary shield or the shield of shielding is another good option. And I think that's all the gear that we need to cover here. But yeah, the gear is very flexible. It's basically set up around the build. As long as you go through the build similar to how I did, you can pretty much do whatever you want at that point in time. Okay, so if you know you're about to get into a fight, you want to go ahead and precast Spirit Guardians. Spirit Guardians precasted. We're going to enter turn-based mode, so we can try to show off as many of these abilities as we can. Since we have the cool trident, we can do something cool like this. Ooh, not a very high chance to hit. Oh well, let's see what we can do.
You were witnessed assaulting
someone. So we'll get into a fight here. It looks like she instantly died. Yep. So start of her turn, she instantly dies. So then it'll bring us to our turn. You know, there's not a lot we can do here, right? So we want to try to get as many people into this as possible. But what I'm going to do instead, we're going to walk to here. I want to sanctuary myself, but I know that this character is going to stop it. So instead, and I can't Misty Step either, because this wizard right here is going to be able to counterspell whatever I choose to do. So what we're instead going to do is come over here. You know what? We'll use just a level 1 spell. It'll get counterspelled. So basically what I'm doing here is just trying to fish out some of the counterspells and stay as safe as possible. Now on my next turn, I'll be able to attack more and build up some of my stacks. Just kind of biding time. I just know that the character is a very good character as far as defenses go, but it's not the most defensive character. And with this many characters hitting it, it's quite a bit of a problem. Looks like the computer's having a little bit of a problem here. Okay. These guys are normal. And you see as they jump into it, they take quite a bit of damage. So it's 22. And currently, go ahead and backlash that. But currently our saving throw looks like it's a 16. Yeah. Alright, so you see he took damage, and then as it rotates into our turn, he takes damage again because he's in it. And you can check to see if they're going to take damage again if you walk through. Like, so he doesn't say Spirit Guardian, so that means if I walk up a little bit, he should have taken damage, but I guess he must have triggered it already. So now we could... So basically you want to find a way to push characters in the direction that you want to go. So I'm going to move to here. I'm going to use Mobile Flourish on this guy to push him forward. Well, that was unlucky. So I wanted to push him forward and teleport to him, but apparently he didn't have enough HP for that. So instead, what we're going to do now is we're going to Mobile Flourish at ranged, and hopefully I can hit someone. Sure, that looks fun. So we're going to try to hit this guy here. Alright, cool. So we went ahead and hit here. So we can now teleport to him. Which it put us on the far side, which is exactly what we wanted. So now we're near this character here. Now if you notice, I've got an attack and it's lining up as a bonus action because we can use one of our War Priest extra attacks to do that. So what I'd like to do now is a melee defensive flourish. And I'm going to do this in order to help increase my armor class. So right now I'm at 22. We can go ahead and do this. I critically missed, which is super sad. And of course my ring I must have procced it earlier, so I don't have the option of exchanging that. So you can see how sad misses are from time to time, because I really wanted to get to this character to also deal damage here. So what we're going to do in this scenario, so also because I missed, I don't get the bonus to my armor class, I don't get the bonus to my arcane acuity, because you see that my spell save DC is now up to 20. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the attack of opportunity. We did succeed on our saving throw, which is fine, and I wanted to get that person here into range of Spirit Guardians, and then we'll just end our turn and watch people run into it. I'm not going to react. So really what you're trying to do is use your flourishes to get around the battlefield a lot more, and hopefully enemies are running into you in order to take that Spirit Guardian damage. Sure. So I am slowed here, which is a pretty big deal. Now I can only, once you're slowed, you can only use actions or bonus actions, so I'm not going to be able to use my War Priest extra bonus action ability. But it does come to my turn. She is kind of low. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but what we're going to do is walk over to here. Okay, cool. And then slow falls off. Now that we have slow off, you can do quite a, like, with this build, you can do some crazy stuff, right? So I know there's some enemies in here that I could possibly trigger. So what I'm going to try to do is bring them in and then run from the combat. So you can kind of see how much distance we can close. It's kind of impressive. So what I'm going to do is, let's go ahead and use a Mobile Flourish on this guy. I don't think it'll kill him. I'm not going to do that. Does hit. And then I do have to move forward slightly to get to him. Cool. And as I do, you see that one of the enemies over here does come within range. For my second attack, we are going to try the defensive flourish again, so I can show off exactly what it does. I have Guiding Bolt, and as I'm hovering over it, you see that the triangle is not becoming lit. That means it's just going to be my second regular attack. Go ahead and hit someone. We're not going to use that. It will hit with a crit. All right, cool. You see, again, we have another action. That means we have a bonus action that's available. We can look at our armor class. Now it's up to 26. And instead, what we're going to do is use some of my gear. Can I do that? No. We brought this guy into combat. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to move all the way over to... See how far we can run. Nope. We're going to move all the way over to here. Start doing some damage on this guy, and I'm going to move to the back side of this guy. The reason I'm doing this is I knew there's more enemies coming this way, and I want to be able to protect myself while maintaining Spirit Guardians. Okay, silence is not a problem for us, guys, as long as you have the spell cast already. It's not a big deal. We're going to just go ahead and use a regular attack here. React. And then what we can do is run all the way to here. And you can see now we are... Oh, we were going to be able to get out. But I've used all my movements. I'm kind of in a tough spot now. I still have attacks. You know, kind of sucks. So what we could do is either Mobile Flourish range. But if I do this one, I think it's going to push him too far out of my range. So what I'm instead going to do is we'll just Misty Step over to him. All right. And I grabbed another guy. But if we wanted to get closer to that guy, what we can then do is Mobile Flourish melee. We're going to send him over to here. Sure, we'll go ahead and use it. We haven't used one yet. And then I accidentally killed him. I probably shouldn't have auto-crit him. And now we're kind of stuck where we are. So one of the big worries is missing or auto-critting is always kind of dangerous. So we'll just intern here. Let them come out. Some of their wolves do all the stuff they want to do. How far are we from enemies? Still 50 feet. I think if I keep going this way, I'm going to summon more enemies. So what I'm going to do instead is we're just going to go this way. Looks like I'm safe now, and then we can flee from combat. But you can see you can do like this hit and run style technique where you're shooting arrows to move people around the battlefield or using your melee attacks to move people around the battlefield. And then on top of that, you can use your bonus action to either do an extra attack, or if you have the ring that I talked about earlier, you can do your attacks, and then you can look through, and any illusion or enchantment spells, like Hold Person, you could upcast, and our spell save DC can be really high. So you see right now, it's not all the way up there, but it's at +6. So that means our spell save DC is a 22. I mean, that's pretty tough for enemies to be able to do. You will notice that you'll run out of Bardic Inspiration really quick. And if you're struggling with that, one of the items I forgot to go over, there's a set of gloves that increase your armor class by 1, and they give you an extra Bardic Inspiration, so you'd be with 6, which is really cool. So we're just going to go ahead and flee this combat, and that's it for the video. If you enjoyed that video, do me a big favor and press that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. It makes a huge difference, and I really appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay safe and roll more 20s.
How would you feel about helping me kill some evil bastards?
Black its blessing.